Am I the a-hole for refusing to invite my estranged mother to my wedding and rethinking my engagement because my fiancé sided with her? I'm feeling completely overwhelmed right now, and I honestly don't know how to react because the people I trusted the most are turning on me. For context, when I was in high school, my mom, 51 female, cheated on my dad, 53 male, with the father of a guy from my soccer team. It was a small town, so the fallout was massive. My parents separated and I stayed with my dad, but the bullying at school was relentless. My mom's side of the family tried to reach out and appeal for her, telling me to forgive her, but I hated them all. The only exception was my grandma and a few cousins. My grandma was the only one on that side who truly understood my pain. She passed away a little after everything went down, and her funeral was the last time I saw most people from my mom's side. I resented them for not disowning my mom, so I cut almost everyone off, except for those few cousins. At school, I took the bullying for months, until one day I just snapped. I was getting surrounded by people in the hallway, and they were making comments and laughing in my face. Usually, I just ignored it and went back to class immediately, but I don't even know what came over me that day. I grabbed a fire extinguisher off the wall and went nuts. I sprayed the foam, swung the canister, and went completely manic. I attacked my bullies, but I was so mentally gone that I ended up attacking random guys too. The cops had to be called, and I was put in a psych ward for a week. When I came back to school, it was awful. Everyone was terrified of me, including the teachers. People thought I was a lunatic. No one would sit next to me, and everyone walked on eggshells, including the teachers. Some parents petitioned the school to expel me, but since it was close to the end of the year, the school let me finish and told my dad I couldn't come back the next year. Around this time, my mom agreed to a 70-30 custody split, but the one good thing she did was let me live with my dad full-time. We moved to the East Coast to live with my dad's brother. That's when I started lying. At my new high school, I just wanted a clean slate, so I told people my mom had passed away. When she would visit for her custody time, I gave her the cold shoulder. I pretended she didn't exist, even when she was in the room. Eventually, the visits became interrupted and less frequent. She tried to come to my high school graduation, but I asked school security to have her removed, and they escorted her out. As soon as I turned 18 and couldn't be forced to see her, I went no contact. I went to college, and she tried to visit me on campus once or twice, so I called campus police on her. I met my girlfriend, now fiancée, in my sophomore year. I told her the same lie, that my mom passed away while I was in high school. My dad eventually told her the truth years later. She was upset, but we worked through it because I explained the trauma and the psych ward experience. Fast forward to now, I've been doing really well financially. I have a great job, and I finally felt stable enough to propose. She said yes. I didn't tell my extended family though, because I know the cousins I stayed in touch with my mom and give updates against my will, so I withheld the information. Last week, my uncle passed away. He was the one who took us in after the affair, so it hit me hard. At the funeral, my mom showed up unexpectedly. I was ready to lose it and kick her out myself, but my fiancé stepped in. She went to talk to my mom to get her to leave calmly. Apparently, while she was walking her out, my fiancé, whom my mom had never met before, told her that we are engaged. My mom started crying because she didn't know. Now those cousins are blowing up my phone, saying it's unfair that I didn't tell them about the engagement and pressuring me to invite my mom to the wedding. But what hurts the most is my fiancé. Ever since that interaction, she has been siding with them. She keeps saying that my mom looked so broken and that everyone deserves a second chance. I feel like I'm going crazy here. I don't owe my mother anything. Keeping her out of my life has been the key to my sanity, and all the progress I've made in therapy feels like it's coming undone. My fiancé knows everything, the psych ward, the bullying, all of it. And she still leaked my engagement to the one person I wanted to hide it from. Now she's judging me for not wanting to reconcile. I'm genuinely having trust issues with her now. I feel like she broke my boundary and is siding with the woman who ruined my childhood. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. How could you remain with someone who so completely disregards your trauma and insists on re-traumatizing you with the one boundary that you have made? She comes from a good family where no one traumatized anyone. and her mom passed away a while ago, and maybe she's projecting. Odds are my mom's probably a changed person, but I just can't stand her. She makes me physically sick. I feel like I've become a new person in the last 8 years since we moved, and whenever I see her, it's like I've run so far and she catches up to me. And now it feels like everything in my life that I've so carefully built and constructed is being brought down. It doesn't matter what she thinks, she should be listening to what you are telling her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my wife do all the chores since she used the chore money for herself? I work out of town at a very physically demanding job. Strangely enough, I am really lazy. But I make lots of money, so I have no problem paying people to do all my housework and yard work. I have a cleaning lady and a kid who mows my lawn and shovels the snow. My wife knew all of this throughout our relationship. I didn't keep it a secret or anything. She actually seemed to appreciate that my place was always clean when she came over, and that there were more than just pickles and beer in my fridge. She lived with her parents to save money while she paid off her student loans. We discussed her living with me, or even just staying in my house while I was gone, but she wouldn't go for it. Her family's very traditional. Anyway, we got married in September and she finally moved in with me. She is amazing, and I am stunned by how hard of a worker she is. I also offered to pay off the remaining balance on her student loans, but she wouldn't agree to that. What she did agree to, though, was to take over housekeeping and shopping, in return for the money I used to pay my housekeeper being added to her budget. It kind of sucked, but a couple of the guys I work with took her on, so she is okay. The problem is, her dad is big on doing all the work around his house. I am not. I pay people to clean my gutters. I pay plumbers, electricians, whatever. I work extremely hard for 14 days in a row, and when I'm home, I want to relax. I want to walk my dog and not much more. My dog lived with my parents when I worked, but now he is home with my wife. Since we got married late in the year, my lawn didn't need to be mowed after our honeymoon. We've had a weird year for snow. We just got our first big dump. Since I was coming home last night, she told the kid not to shovel, and she kept the money. Whatever, we are a partnership. She can make decisions like that. However, despite whatever her dad has to say about it, I don't shovel. I could get hurt, or worse, sweaty. So this morning I made sure she knew that if the snow wasn't removed in 48 hours, we would get a citation from the city. They would send out a crew to shovel, and we would be charged for it at city union labor rates. She said I could shovel. I said I could, but I wouldn't, since I had budgeted for someone else to do it. She ended up having to do it herself. She tried calling the kid, but he was going to school, so he couldn't do it until afterward, and he had other clients to take care of. She is mad at me because I could have shoveled. I fully could have, but I didn't want to. I never want to. That's why I pay other people to do that stuff. I don't even like that I have to unload the dishwasher now. I used to just throw dishes in there, and they would end up in the cupboard. Am I the a-hole for assuming that if she took the money for a job, then she would take responsibility for that job getting done? Not the a-hole, but I think you should keep hiring people to do chores and not give your wife the money to do them. I don't think she respects the fact that you don't and can't do some of the work that her dad does. I could do that work, I just don't want to. That's still valid. You're not refusing because you can't. You're refusing because you already paid so you don't have to. That was the agreement. Taking the money means taking the responsibility. Not the a-hole. To be honest, I wish my hubby would do this. Then more time for hobbies, lol. There are studies that show that purchasing services to reclaim your time leads to longer-lasting happiness than using the same amount of money to buy things. Time is valuable. OP found a way to waste less of his. It's worth the cost. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to know how much money my husband makes? My husband and I just got married this year, after being together for 9 years. When we first got together, he was very reserved about his financial situation. He owns a business, and I didn't feel the need to ask or pry. As we've been together, we've slowly morphed into me working a part-time job and him paying all the bills, which I am very grateful for, and try my best to show my appreciation for as much as I can. I also take care of all the household duties and pay for groceries about half the time. We've seemed to settle into this arrangement with no issues from either side. He's never disclosed how much money he makes annually or given me any insight into his finances. I know that there's no debt or anything like that for a few reasons I can't disclose here. Throughout the years, I have interviewed for full-time jobs. I had an offer for a 6-figure job and nearly accepted it until he said, well then we can't go to X, a place we frequently stay for weeks or months, and I'll have to go alone to Y, etc., in a way that made me feel guilty, or like I'd miss out on the life we currently share. He also bought our new house without me being present or even knowing he purchased it, saying it was a surprise. I did tour it before and really liked it, so it wasn't an issue. It's just the fact that I was not included in this decision-making. Now that we got married recently, I felt it was time that I fully knew what was going on. We're planning to have children, and I'd like to know what our budget looks like. Private school, nanny, etc., if those are in our budget. I also pay for most of my own expenses, hair, makeup, clothing, workout classes, etc., with my own money from my job, and if I had a child, I would not be working as much. This is where we are currently. He tells me I could easily check the bills that come in the mail and know what's happening that way. I said, okay, sure. So I made a spreadsheet of the expenses I could find, noting the due dates and autopay cards, etc., just trying to work with what I could get. He still will not tell me how much money he makes or show me bank accounts or statements, although I have seen one or two over the years on the counter. He says I could assume from our lifestyle and cars that we're well off. Our house is worth 7 figures, and our cars are around 6 figures. I said I understood that, but I feel that if I'm going to have a child with him and become more dependent, I'd like to fully understand. He says that it's not important and that I'll tell people. We have not had any issues with me disclosing personal things in the past. All in all, I am very grateful for the life he provides, and I've tried to make that clear as much as I can, but I don't want to go into parenthood blind to these things. He thinks that it shouldn't matter because I'm taken care of. But I never anticipated I'd be in this position. I've always been a career-oriented person until this relationship. Edit to add, I have seen his credit report when we pulled it for our most recent car lease, and it is very high. No issues there. This is our first year legally married, so we have not filed taxes together yet. We have not done any legal paperwork for the marriage, other than filing the license. I'm more than willing to sign a post-nup in this case. No gambling, addiction, or debt that I can see. We spend 90% of our time together, so I think I'd notice. Am I the a-hole for wanting to know how much my husband makes? I am throwing this out there to everyone that gets married. You are being dumb if you don't have an in-depth conversation about finances with full transparency before getting married. Not just finances, kids, how you want to raise said kids, home upkeep expectations, long-term goals, etc. You should be able to have adult conversations with someone you are going to marry. You need to get a job and manage your own finances. And you would be the a-hole to yourself if you didn't take this into your own hands and look after yourself. Do you know what he does for his business? Something tells me he's either spending well above his means, and you're in debt and don't know, or his business isn't legit. Yes, I do know what his business is and have frequently gone to his place of work, so I know that he's not lying about that. I'm not sure about the overspending because I do know that our house is paid off fully, and he was very frugal with his money before and in the early days of us being together. He lived in his previous home for 20+ years and had it paid off for a while, so I don't think that could be it. It's just strange. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my boyfriend move in with me? I, 28 female, live alone with my dog, 12 female. Let's call her Nina. She is my baby. I found her and her siblings when they were about 2 weeks old and cared for them. Only 2 survived, sadly, but I have to admit, I spoiled her from the beginning because she barely made it. My boyfriend, 30 male, still lives with his mom, which is not abnormal in our culture. But lately they've been fighting a lot because his sister moved back in with her kids and he doesn't have much space. He has a very good job, so he could realistically move out on his own, but he is very insistent on wanting to move in with me. We've only been dating for 8 months, and I don't think we're there yet. Also, every time he visits, he complains about something related to Nina. He got mad the other night because he wanted to sleep over and wanted me to kick Nina out of the bed, and I refused. I told him before that if he doesn't like it, he can literally just break up with me. I'm not changing my life for Nina's life, just because he doesn't want to move out alone. Well, on Friday, he got into a big fight with his family because one of his nephews grabbed his Nintendo Switch and damaged it or something. He came to my house with all his things packed, pretending to just stay over without telling me, and immediately started trying to change things around. He said Nina could sleep on the floor in our room or in the living room, but he wasn't going to live with a dog that's on the furniture. To make a long story short, I kicked him out and told him he never even asked if he could come over, and that Nina lives here. He doesn't. He yelled a lot and got even more mad when I didn't react. He left, and he's been texting me from a hotel, telling me he's losing money because I'm mean and a bad girlfriend. I told him we'll talk again once he gets his own place. I told my friends about it, and some of them were on my side, but others said I was prioritizing a dog over a human. And yes, maybe I am, but why is that so wrong? I started doubting myself, but I'm not really willing to make my dog suffer because he can't adapt to her or find his own place. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. He sounds like the type of person to give away your dog when you leave, and then say it ran away. Also, he wants to move directly from mama to you. He wants someone to continue taking care of him, to cook and clean. I just cringed a little and feel stupid now. Not the a-hole. Break up with this guy, not just because he can't respect that your dog lives there, but because he doesn't respect you and the rules in your home. If you let him move in, he will just take over, and he'll probably abuse your dog when you're not around. This guy doesn't communicate with you. He imposes himself on you without warning, and then tries to throw his weight around. He truly isn't worth your time. He sounds like a nightmare. I wanted to break up, but my friend said I was overreacting, so I doubt myself. Besides him being a hobosexual, he is not a dog person, and you are. Find someone who is and have a happy life. You can do far better than him. There are so many times opposites attract, and so many things a couple can have respectful, contrasting opinions about. But a person who loves animals and a person who can't stand animals will never be happy together. One will always resent the other, either for having a pet or for never being able to have a pet.